Okay, hello everyone. I'm Lisa Twilley, the Director of the Women's Business Center here at Maryland Capital Enterprises. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful day today. We're excited to be here with Rosalind Davis, but I want to just mention a few things about Maryland Capital Enterprises and the Women's Business Center. We service the entire Eastern Shore of Maryland, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. We provide business consulting, marketing consulting, free training classes such as this, and we also do small business loans. So if we can be of service to any of you, please feel free to reach out to us. I put my information in the chat already, and I'm sure Nick will put his information in the chat since he's on and he's our Baltimore representative. So, but I'm here on the Eastern Shore. So if you need our services, please reach out. I'd like to introduce Rosalind Davis, owner of Rada Business Solutions, and we're so thankful she is here today. We are actually in training with you guys, so she's the expert on this, not us. So we're learning today too. So thank you, Rosalind. I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Well, thank you, Lisa. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on the System for Award Management, Sam.Gov Simplified. I'm Rosalind Davis, President and CEO of Rada Business Solutions, a management consulting firm specializing in program and project lifecycle management, business administration, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, resiliency, and leadership development training. And finally, we also do logistics operations. Rada provides customized solutions and training programs that are designed to meet the specific needs of each client by using widely recognized project management processes, tools, and techniques to organize, plan, and execute programs more efficiently. Finally, Rada Business Solutions is certified as a woman, veteran, and minority-owned small business located in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I want to thank Maryland Capital Enterprise Women's Business Center Director Lisa Twilley for providing this training platform. And before I begin the presentation, I also want to thank Ms. Kamalia Blunt of Lord & Tucker Management Consultants for making the connections between Rada Business Solutions and Lisa Twilley. Finally, I want to thank Ms. Portia May of Full Armor Technology for allowing me to use some of her SAM screenshots to develop today's presentation. Full Armor Technology is a global service provider of standing up and or upgrading network infrastructures, cabling installations, automation, smart home, and cloud and software as a service for federal and commercial clients. Full Armor Technology is a woman, veteran, and minority-owned small business located in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Now, my disclaimer. The screenshots used in this presentation are actual screen captures from Sam.Gov, but the views and opinions expressed during this webinar are my views and in no way are the views and opinions of the government or any other entity. I recommend, if you have not done so already, in the top right corner of your Zoom screen, switch to the standard view to enhance your visibility of the SAM screenshots. So moving on to Sam.Gov Simplified. So SAM is the federal government's online database of vendors wishing to do business with the federal government. So here is the agenda that we're going to go through today. After the assertion sections, we will take questions and answers, and then we'll move on to the end of the briefing and then take more questions and answers as time permits. Okay. So just logging on, before registering in Sam.Gov, you need to gather the following information and documents. Your employer identification number, which is your EIN from irs.gov for your business. We could perhaps post a link in the chat. I'll do that at the end of the webinar, but you also must complete the online application in one session, as you will not be able to return and save your information and return later. When you submit your EIN application, do not use a virtual or post office box for your physical address. It must be a physical address, such as your home address or an actual office address. And for security purposes, your session will expire after 15 minutes of inactivity, and you will need to restart your application all over. It's a very short application, but it's just very important that the information that you submit is accurate, because if you need to make changes, it could take about 2 weeks for the IRS to mail you your changes. The next is your taxpayer identification number from the IRS, or the TIN, which can also be your Social Security number. So next, have readily available your state business registration documents. So this will have your company's legal business name, your physical address, and mailing address. Now, these can be the same or they can be different, but I caution you to make sure that that physical address that you list on your state documents match the physical address you put in your IRS EIN application. That is one area that seems to trip people up more, and their registration in SAM gets held up because the two documents do not match. Now, here's just a little tidbit of information that I'd like to share with you. Google your business name, conduct a domain name search on the internet, search your business name in your state's website to ensure that the name you choose for your business is not already taken. You'd hate to expend a lot of money developing a website, coming up with the business name, submitting it to IRS only to find out that it's taken. So also make sure to save your state documents on your computer for quick access. Save it to where you can retrieve it, because you will have to submit those documents in SAM. Next, you'll need a business bank routing and account number. So this needs to be a business banking versus your personal account number. And you'll need that information to submit in SAM as well. Offerings. These are the goods and services, which are the North American Industry Classification, or NAICS codes, and also your product service codes you plan to sell to the federal government. And then finally, point of contact information. At a minimum, you will need the full name, the email address, and the phone number. Now, as of March 3rd of this year, only employees, officers, and board members can be entity administrators in Sam.Gov. Previous to this date, you could have a third party register your business in SAM and keep your SAM registration up to date. But March 3rd, it can only be employees, officers, and board members of your company. All right, moving on to logging on. So first you would go to sam.gov/content/home. Make sure that you read and accept the terms to advance to the log on screen. Now your screen may look different based on your browser, but I'm using Internet Explorer, and this is how my screen looks. If this is your first time using login.gov, you will need to create an account. So enter your email address, then follow the prompts to complete a login.gov account. If you already have a login.gov account, you can enter your email address and password to sign in, because you may use login.gov on other sites, but it is the same password and username that you've used on other sites. Now, keep in mind, login.gov is a two-step verification process, so make sure you have access to the method, because they'll either send you an email, they'll send you a text, or a phone call that you set up for your verification, because it will time out after about 10 minutes if you do not use the code. And then once you get the code, enter it on the screen and click submit. Moving on to entity registration. So now you're ready to begin the business entity registration process. Click the Get Started button. Now, as of May 26, Sam.gov made some changes. And this change affects whether you're a new registration, whether you're updating your registration in SAM, or you're doing your annual renewal. This applies to everyone. You will see this screen that basically says, before you get started, they want to ask you a few questions. And it says these questions will not impact your organizations and your answers will be anonymous. And I will go through the next following screens to show you what's changed in Sam.gov. So it says, what is your goal? For me, I selected, I want to do business directly with the federal government. And then I went down to the next section and I said, I want to do business as a prime. And the reason I selected prime because subcontractors don't submit offers and bids in SAM, only primes do. So don't limit yourself to just being a subcontractor in SAM. Although these particular questions that they've just instituted on May 26th don't affect your entity registration, but you never know down the line what may change. So select prime as your registration. Now, this next screen, it says, who required you to submit your entity in Sam.Gov? So I like to keep things simple. So I decided on my own because as the company officer, I'm the one making the choice to conduct business with the federal government. I didn't want to select that there was a federal government entity that decided that I needed to register in SAM because as you can see, there's a drop down that asks you what agency is that. And if you don't get that agency name correctly as it is listed in SAM, it could just cause you more headache. And that's why I just chose, I decided on my own. So this is where you will start to see the real registration of SAM. So if your sole purpose is to apply for grants and loans, then register for financial assistance awards only. But if your intent is to be a subcontractor, a sub-awardee, then only apply for a unique entity ID, here referred to as UEI. No business registration is required. Just getting a UIE validates your legal business name and address. For this presentation, I will focus on how to register a US-based business in SAM for All awards. So by registering SAM for All awards, your business will be visible to federal agencies and other government contractors looking for suppliers. You will be able to bid directly on federal contracts as a prime or seek federal assistance as a prime awardee. Of note, SAM is a federal awards system. It is not at the state and local level. If you're interested in doing business at the state and local level, then you will need to register with that government's platform. So it's asking, are you registering a government entity? So if you are a business, click no. You are not registering a government entity. And then click my entity is physically located in the US. Click next to proceed with the registration. Now, because you're a new business entity, you do not have a cage code. The cage code is different from a UEI. The UI is issued through SAM, whereas the cage code is assigned by the Defense Logistics Agency or DLA after your registration is completed SAM. So click no and then next. This screen here is verifying that you are registering a business for all awards. It's just the last checks and balance before you proceed on to registering. This screen alerts you to additional sections that must be completed to register your business entity. Make certain you have those required documents that I talked about at the beginning of this presentation before you proceed to the next step. This screen here just kind of tells you again what sections you will need to complete for your SAM registration. This step here is very critical, so I'm going to take a little bit more time and kind of go through this step. Okay, these 4 elements that I have highlighted and put a red arrow must match the business name and address you used in your state and your IRS EIN registration. I cannot stress enough, those 2 documents must match. If they do not, your entity registration will be flagged and you will not be able to proceed with completing your registration. And for example, if you use Positive Technology Solutions for your state and EIN, do not just enter Positive Tech Solutions in SAM. When you submit your entity for validation, it will not match and you will have to resubmit the corrected information or documents, thus delaying your registration in SAM. And until you are fully registered in SAM and it's been approved, you will not be able to receive or submit offers to the federal government for awards. Now, on this screen, you're getting ready to validate your business entity. As indicated, do not use the post office or virtual address for your physical location. They added it again right here, no post office boxes or virtual offices. This is also where you acknowledge you can provide official documentation to validate your business entity. Again, I would have that information readily available on my desktop so that I can upload it at the appropriate time. So on the next two screens, you will see in SAM, the one on the left, enter the year and use the drop down to select your state where you registered your business. Then you'll be asked to confirm your entity information. If it's correct, then click next. Now on this screen, click view the list of acceptable documents right here. Some acceptable documents could be your articles of incorporation, which comes from your state, articles of formation, which also is a state, certificate of formation, your state receipt, your IRS EIN documentation are all examples of acceptable documents that you will need to upload. Now it says you must attach one or more. Here's the key. You must upload at least 3 documents, one at a time. Although the screen says you must attach one or more, a minimum of 3 uploaded documents are required to advance to the next step. If you only upload 1 document, the next button will be grayed out and you will not be able to continue validating your entity. So if you have successfully uploaded your documentation, congratulations. You just submitted your business entity for validation. So at this point, you can check your registration status by going to your workspace, which is right here at the top of the screen in the top right corner. As you can see, this business entity is in the draft registration stage. Entity validation can take 3 to 5 business days, provided all your information checks out. And if it does, your UEI will be visible the next time you log in to Sam.Gov. So when you log back into Sam.Gov, after you get the email saying your entity has been validated, go into Sam.Gov, click on your workspace, click on work in progress, and use these 3 dots over here to the right to select update from the drop-down menu. All right, so moving on to core data. You will need to revalidate your entity again, except for this time when you see this screen, your entity should be listed. Now, this is just a sample of a SAM screenshot, but the entity was listed here. So click the button that says, I recognize my entity, then click next. Your UEI should be pre-populated on the next screen. And from this point, you still need to complete your registration for all awards. Okay, core data. This slide outlines the necessary steps to complete your registration. As you can see, it is a very long list of steps that need to be completed, and they must be completed in order. The system will not allow you to skip around, and then a green check mark will appear indicating you have completed the applicable subsection. I would suggest, at a minimum, read the page description in the blue box before you enter in information. Mandatory fields, such as this one, are marked with an asterisk. Now, most businesses select December 31st as their fiscal year end closeout date. The government, most agencies use September 30th as their fiscal year, but most businesses use December 31st, just as a recommendation. You will also need a marketing partner ID number, an MPIN, which is a 9-digit alphanumeric password. This is a password you create for use on authorized partners' websites, such as grants.gov. Make sure you keep this password secure. Make sure you are You know where the password is. If you write it down, put it in your phone log, but make sure you keep it readily accessible because at times you will be asked to re-enter that NPIN. All right. The physical and mailing addresses here will be pre-populated. So all this information should be correct based on your SAM registration when you submitted your validation. Under the TIN, which is your tax ID number subsection, use the drop down to select TIN type right here. If you recall, a TIN type is either a tax ID number or it could be your social security number. Read the red box and then enter the information and select update, then save and continue. So if you recall on the previous slide, I use my social security number as my tax ID number, my TIN. For this slide here, it is asking for my most recent tax year as an individual because I use my social security number. For example, I started my business in 2022. Therefore, my recent tax year as an individual was 2021. So click Save and Continue. For TIN matching, you will get a one-time password emailed to your login.gov email account. Click Send Password, enter the password sent to your email in order to proceed to the next screen in SAM. Now, this screen allows times for questions at the end of this presentation, so I will not cover all the subsections under core data. But in this general information subsection, the focus of the slide is to point out the security level of a business entity right here, or that of its employees. So the difference is an entity security level is the facility clearance level for the business, whereas highest employee security level refers to the employees. A lot of people get mixed up on those two, but just remember, the entity is for the business and the employees is for the personnel. So this slide is a continuation of the previous slide. The general information subsection screen in SAM. If you recall, the note inside the red box about 4 slides ago that stated, if you selected your social security number as your TIN type on this page, you must select either sole proprietorship or LLC on the general information page later during this registration. Select the organizational factors or factors applicable to your business entity. As you can see, I selected both LLC and sole proprietorship because that is the way I registered my business with the state. The last part of the general information section is on the far right of this slide. Select the applicable socioeconomic categories that apply to your business. I must caution you, the government will verify your veteran and women-owned socioeconomic certifications within the Small Business Administration before awarding your business a set-aside contract. So you can self-identify here on the screen, but before they will award your contract, they will verify that your business is in fact a veteran or a women-owned business. So review your core data entries before proceeding to the assertion sections. So this slide here will show you all the information that you have entered within the core data section, and it'll give you a chance to review all your information before moving on to the next section, which is assertions. So at this time, I'd like to take a pause and see if there's any questions.
Feel free to unmute yourself. I don't see anything in the chat, Rosalind.
All right, let's move on then. All right, within the assertion section is where you will select your products and services you wish to sell to the federal government. Again, these products and services are commonly referred to as North American Industry Classification Code, or NAICS, and PSCs, your product service codes. To find a list of your NAICS codes, go to census.gov/NAICS. Then select the applicable NAICS codes that you will use to sell to the federal government and select those and put those in SAM. For your PSCs, go to psctool.us and then enter the applicable PSCs in SAM. Both sites, I will put those in the chat. But you can select multiple NAICS codes and multiple PSC codes. For your NAICS codes, it will ask you which one of the lists that you have put into SAM, which one is your primary NAICS code. Now, in this subsection, enter your annual receipts. If you do not have any receipts to report, enter $1. Do not leave it blank. Also, if you're currently the only employee in your company, enter 1. You are an employee of your company, although it may be just yourself at this time. Enter the information, click Save, and Continue. In this page description, it says, most registrants do not provide EDI information. So again, within SAM, I like to just keep it simple. So I click No, Save, and Continue. This subsection of the assertions portions inquire whether you wish for your entity be included in the disaster response registry. So if you take, for instance, hurricane operations under FEMA, this is what this section is asking for. Use the drop-down menu to select yes or no. The next question refers to bonding. Bonding is mainly for construction companies. So if you are in the business of doing construction, then you have to select your bonding capability. So select the appropriate response from the drop-down menu. Now, if you selected yes for a disaster response registry, that just means if FEMA needed businesses, they would probably go to this registry to find out what companies are out there that can provide the capability. Then you want to select the areas or area where you want to offer your products and services. So you can have any state, you can have one state, or you can have multiple states. So if you only want to do business in 5 states, then select multiple states and you'll get a drop down to select those 5 states that you like to do business. So on this SAM screen, you will review your assertion information for accuracy, then proceed to the representations and certification sections. So as you can see, after each section, you will have the opportunity to review your information and make any corrections as necessary before moving on to the next major section. With that, we will move on to representations and certs. Here I'm referred to as reps and certs. So reps and certs, there are written guarantees made by your entity to comply with various requirements, and they are required for the conduct of business with the federal government. To ensure I leave time for questions, I will only cover FAR Response 1. This subsection refers to the persons within your entity responsible for determining prices offered in bids/proposals. So click on the FAR link if you require clarification. So you can click on the FAR link where it says FAR Response 1, click on that if you need clarification prior to entering the name and the title of the individual. So I clicked on each of these FAR links. I entered my name, my title, and then I click next. So if you selected architectural engineering NAICS code 541330, it's one example, which is engineering services, then you will need to complete this page. You can use the drop-down menu to select vendor will provide information with specific offers to the government as the default response. I recommend using this as the default response because you may not have this information and you don't want it to hold up your registration. So this basically says, when the time comes, I'll provide information. So if you do not select one of the architectural and engineering NAICS codes, the screen will show, hey, our records indicate you have not selected an A&E NAICS. Are you sure? And if you're sure that you will not provide architectural and engineering type services, respond no, and then you'll be proceeding to the next stage. So I want to point out the defense and DFARS information. So the next two screens you will see on your SAM registration are defense response and FAR, DFAR reps and certs. The first screen, defense response, asks if you wish to bid on or currently hold DoD contracts, Department of Defense contracts. Click yes or no. If you select no, the rest of the screen will be NA. So in the FAR, DFAR subsection, there will be a list and a link to the provisions you are required to read. So here's the list of the FAR, DFAR clauses that you are required to read. And then after you have read them all, there is a box that says to confirm that you have read each one of the FAR, DFAR's clauses. So on this screen, check the appropriate box if you wish to apply for federal financial assistance, such as grants. Click Save and Continue to proceed to the POC section. Points of contacts. So at a minimum, you need to enter the full name, the email address, and phone number of the account's receivable point of contact. If the same individual is the point of contact for sole proprietorship, electronic government business, etc., you can select the copy from in the drop-down menu, and it will duplicate the POC information, thus saving you time in your business registration process. Now, as a reminder, on March 3rd, Sam said only employees, officers, and board members can be entity administrators in SAM. So if you had a third party entering your information, you will need to make that correction and update it to an employee, officer, or board member of your company. So moving on to small business certification. So if you are a small business, I highly recommend you visit the SBA supplemental page to view and update your SBA profile. So it's down here at the bottom of this screen. However, there's a link that will take you to the SBA supplemental pages, but I will tell you in the past couple of days, that link has not been active. Even if you try to go directly to the SBA supplemental pages, the link is just not active. So the page is kind of hit or miss, but you want to make sure that you eventually get around to updating your SBA profile. So upon review and your updates to your SBA profile, you want to complete your business entity registration. So this step can be completed after you submit your business registration. Just remember to complete this step because it is very important. A lot of federal agencies use the SBA supplemental pages as market research tool to locate small businesses. Moving on to submit registration section. So on the final page, review all the information that you provided. It will go back through your core data, your assertions, your reps and certs, points of contacts, small business certification. Click submit registration if all looks good and there's no changes. So after you submit your registration, it can take anywhere to 10 to 15 business days for your business entity registration to be verified and activated. And then once that's done, then it will take a little bit more time for a cage code to be assigned. Once your registration is active, you will receive a confirmation email. So here's some key takeaways and conclusion from this training. Ensure you have the required information and documents readily available before you begin the registration process. Make sure that your business information entered in SAM, it matches what you put on your application in the IRS, and it also matches information in your state registration. You want to complete your entity's SBA profile on the SBA supplemental pages for visibility during market research. Again, you may want to bookmark that site, but right now it is not active. And then you want to allow 3 weeks for complete business entity registration. That 3 weeks will include a cage code assignment. And keep your product and service offerings, your points of contacts, and other relevant business information up to date so that you will be ready to do business with the federal government. At any time, you can make changes to your Sam.profile, and you will get an email saying that we receive your information and we're reviewing it. Normally, if you need to just add a NAICS code or PSC codes, it may take 2 days. But the main thing is make sure that your information stays up to date, because the government uses this also as another tool for market research. So this slide, congratulations. You have successfully registered your business in Sam.gov and your entity is now active. By doing so, you have made your business visible to federal agencies and prime contractors looking for suppliers. So thank you for joining me today for Sam.gov Simplified presentations. At this time, I will take any questions and take a pause.
Ooh, that's a lot of information.
Yes, it is.
I was taking lots of notes. Does anybody have questions? Now's the time to ask the expert.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. My name is Rochelle Hemingway. I'm very good friends with Rosalind, and so I am super excited about asking a few questions.
Okay.
And so, first of all, thank you for an amazing presentation. I actually got my Sam.gov pulled up right now, and I have a UEI number, I have a cage number, and the purpose of registration is all awards. So I think I'm good.
Oh, great, great. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. So my question is, you said as of 26 May, there were some changes made. So can I can actually go back in and re-enter information if I need to align with those questions?
Absolutely. As a, you already have an active registration. Once you go back to sign it to Sam and you want to review your registration, it will automatically ask you those new questions that says, hey, what's the purpose of your registration and things like that. And this mainly for market research that the government is doing right now, but it will not affect your entity at all.
Awesome. Okay. And then as far as the classification, so when I look on my what I'm actually registered for, I've got all these different entities, if you will. So those like women business owner, minority business owner, service disabled, veteran, is there a way that am I at the point where I can advertise that, i.e. in my LinkedIn profile, i.e. in my websites? Is there, or do I need to go a step further and go to the Maryland, because I saw that the state of Maryland, you have to register certain entities. So I'm not sure quite what point I'm at. So maybe you would know.
Okay. So for your women's business certification and your service disabled veteran owned small business certifications, you would need to go through SBA. Now, if you already have your SBA certifications for those two socioeconomic categories, then yes, go ahead and put those on your LinkedIn profile, your other social media profiles, but on your website, you can also put them on your business card. Now, up until December of this year, you can self-certify. However, I will caution you, if you self-certify as a service disabled veteran owned small business, come January 1st, 2024, if you're not certified by the SBA, you will not be able to be awarded contracts through the federal government.
Okay.
make sure that is one certification that you get through SBA. And from what I'm told, it only takes about 2 weeks. And that was as recent as about 3 weeks ago, someone who submitted their registration for service disabled through SBA. It only took them 2 weeks. I'd say the key to all certifications is to review the checklist and make sure you have all those documentations on hand and readily available. Now, as a bonus for your minority business, small business enterprise, and your disadvantaged enterprise, so that MBE, DBE, and SBE certifications that you would get through Maryland Department of Transportation, Lisa is offered to host another webinar. So a webinar on MBE, DBE, and SBA certification will be held on July 6th at noon. There will be a registration link coming out soon, but I will go through and explain how you get your certification through Maryland Department of Transportation for your MBE, DBE, and SBE. And I say all three because you can submit one application to cover those three socioeconomic categories. Don't just do one when you can do all three and get them done at one time.
Yes. I think there's also a webinar tonight that I'm going to attend with the MDOT, but I'm actually going to attend both so I can get, information and I can really fully understand. And then my last question for you is, when I went to SBA and I went to register, one of the questions was asking for a no objection letter. So my husband is in the federal government space, and so it does not have an example of the letter. So I'm not sure what that letter needs to say, who it needs to go to, and I didn't know if anyone would have information on that.
Okay, so my significant other is also federal government employees as well, and I needed to do a no objection letter. And there is no format. You can put it on your business letterhead, and basically says that your husband's legal department has done a review and there is no objection to you having a business, doing business with the federal government. And so the letter can be just as simple as stating that I do have your email address. I will forward you a copy of the letter that I submitted.
Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Lisa, are there any other questions?
Bunky or Nick, do you have any questions?
I do not, but thank you very much. Just for folks who might not have been there early, I will put my contact information in case anybody happens to be on the west side of the bridge.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Rosalind. We appreciate it. It was great information. I've never, it's awesome to have somebody sit here with screenshots and explain it like this, because just like with the MBE, that's why I wanted more detailed with screenshots, because even when I've done the presentations with MDOT, and not to discount them, they just tell you what's going to happen in the application, but you don't really see screenshots. So I think I'm a more visual person, and it really helps me. So I'm sure it does a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be on our website. We just planned it, so it'll be on there today or tomorrow, and then you guys can get on and register for that.
Yeah. And hey, thank you everyone for joining. I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn and be the first one to know about my future webinars, which the next one is July 6th, doing the MBE, DBE, and SBA certifications through Maryland Department of Transportation.
And I'd like to do this one again sometime too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys. You have a great day.
All right.
Be in touch, Rosalind.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.